All right, let's kick things off now with an update from Nasrec, where the ANC is holding that important NEC meeting before its national elective conference, and that's where we find Newzroom Afrika's Govan Whittles, who's there and joins me now live. Govan, you've been having conversations with various NEC members since yesterday. What are we expecting today, and what have you heard so far? All indications are that the president may have survived those calls for him to step down.
Indeed, Clement, that is our indication from the people that are attending the meeting. We know that the Commission had advised him to take the NEC into its confidence, something that his supporters said he did fully. At this point, we have a few more details that we could share, that the supporters of President Cyril Ramaphosa had argued that he shouldn't step aside in the same way that Dr. Zweli Mkhize shouldn't step aside. At Newzroom Afrika, we've been able to confirm that, and that seems to have pacified many of them. But the real problem has been on the discussion on the state of the organization and the impact that some of the scandals that the leaders are embroiled in is having on the reputation of the ANC. The Integrity Commission ultimately set up to decide whether or not the scandal itself has brought the ANC into disrepute, and if so, who is to blame for the scandal bringing the ANC into disrepute, which individuals should shoulder the blame. And to that extent, we understand that it's not fallen on the president, and there's no recommendation for him to step aside. Of course, we'll give you more details from that discussion as we're able to get them. But one of the more interesting developments has been the discussion around the state capture report and what the ANC plans to do about the recommendation that it reviews its deployment committee. The deployment policy of the ANC currently being taken to court by the Democratic Alliance. It's in the High Court asking it to declare the entire policy unconstitutional based on the submissions to the Zondo Commission as well as the findings and recommendations. This NEC meeting dealing with a report by Jeff Gadebe's task team on the state capture report on what kind of changes to make to that committee to have it form form a stronger basis for people to be recommended. Essentially, the kind of requirements that they'll add to the committee for it to merit being called a proper selection committee and not being questioned just on the basis of political allegiance. And in that respect, Newzroom Afrika spoke to Mac Maharaj, an ANC veteran, about what kind of changes he would like to see implemented in law following the release of the state capture report and its findings and recommendations. Mac Maharaj stating that he believes the anti-corruption bill, or a bill making corruption illegal, should be taken to Parliament by civil society and the country's law faculties at the different universities. Let's take a listen to what he had to say about the future of fighting corruption in South Africa and the role the citizens should play, how they should exert pressure on political parties.
There is a fight back going on from the people who are implicated in corruption. And if we lose focus on that, we lose everything. That's why I'm saying that the campaign against corruption must be national, and it must be addressing the issues on the basis of facts. Zondo has presented a report of the extent of corruption. Are we ready to tackle that? We need a law that makes corruption, abuse of power, illegal. We need to overcome the problem of a gap in our law, where people, when they are going to go face disciplinary charges for corruption, resign, and therefore you can do nothing. Yes, government has done something important. Through the Special Investigating Unit, it has now become to recover the money from people who've stolen. But merely getting back the money is not enough. Those who were engaged in corruption must face the might of the law, and we need a law to address that. And I'm saying, making the law, drafting it, is not just a job of those who are in Parliament. Civil society can draft it. We have all the law faculties in the universities. We can rope them in and without any compensation draft that bill and take it to Parliament. And say to each of the political parties, leaders, do you support this? If you support it, make it a bill and make it enacted as law. Those who don't, isolate themselves and say they're paying lip service to fighting corruption.
That's ANC veteran Mac Maharaj speaking exclusively to Newzroom Afrika. He's also a former member of the NEC. He's retired at the moment, but still holding strong views about the country's future. And we're at NASREC right now. We're expecting the President to speak later this afternoon. With us, we do have the ANC's national spokesperson, Pule Mabe. He'll speak to us about how things are going in the NEC, also some developments when it comes to financial disclosures. Mr. Mabe, thank you again for your time. Let's just begin with how the meeting is progressing. Is everything going on time? Will we get that addressed later by the President?
Yes, everything is going quite smoothly. You would expect, this is effectively marks our last ordinary National Executive Committee meeting of the ANC, National Executive Committee, as elected in 2017 here in NASREC. There's been quite a very fruitful engagements. Cadres are making positive and constructive inputs on what would impact on the life of their own organization going forward. So it's quite encouraging.
They've been able to get through all of those reports, the State Capture Elections Committee Integrity Report?
Of course, and almost all of those reports have been received by the National Executive Committee. Even as we were coming to talk to yourselves, the Renewal Commission was on the podium giving its own report. So it does give a sense of hope and courage. And again, it is a full endorsement of the National Conference expected to start here in NASREC on the 16th of December next month to the 20th of December. So we are quite hopeful. And that's the program that we outlined. Our Treasurer General, who is also in charge of the Secretary General's office, Comrade Paul Mashatile, will tomorrow talk to yourselves in more detailed form about what would have come out of this National Executive Committee.
You do also have an update on financial disclosures coming from some of the candidates. What's been happening?
Well, we must commend cadres of the ANC who have heeded the call by the Electoral Committee to disclose those records, donations and all of that. So cadres of the ANC have been quite cooperative towards that process.
All right, we'll leave it right there. Thank you so much for the update. That's Pule Mabe, the national spokesperson of the ANC, confirming that some of the ANC's candidates, the leaders who are vying for positions in the party, have started to make some disclosures of their financial donations towards their campaigns internally. This is hugely important. Remember that Amabungane went to court to have the PAIA Act declared unconstitutional because it doesn't compel the disclosures of internal party contests. And since then, the ANC has been under pressure, of course, in the wake of the CR17 funding debacle, to have more transparency in the process of how its candidates are funded for its campaigns within the party, and to have the public hold them accountable. Tomorrow seems to be the big day when it comes to information such as that, where we'll get a chance to engage more directly with the Acting Secretary General, Paul Mashatile, and hopefully we'll get some updates on exactly who is disclosed and what the nature of those disclosures are. For now, it's back to you.
All right, Govan, Whittles, live to us from NASREC. Thank you for that update.